Craig Packer points out in his book Into Africa, that is because we make it all up as we go along, whereas an ant has every small instruction laid out in advance. Ravens, like humans, and unlike perhaps most other birds, probably do not have instructions to all of life's problems laid out in advance, or they would not likely have been considered highly intelligent and mythologized as creators, destroyers, prophets, playful clowns, and tricksters. I have often been startled by their enigmatic and seemingly contradictory responses. But the poetry of biology resides hidden in opposing tensions, and the often arduous fun comes from trying to reveal it. To begin to see how the raven's mind might be organized requires finding the focal points of its natural history, necessitating an openness to all the input of information one can muster. Since I wrote Ravens in Winter, I have intensified and greatly enlarged my original study. I have tried to see ravens from as many perspectives as possible that might reflect not only on their adaptive responses, but also on the motivation of those responses. Hundreds of people have shared with me their experiences of seeing ravens' behavior. They have been like extra eyes, probing where and when I could not reach. I have tried to sift carefully through these reports, but I am able to offer here only a small minority that were appropriate for the context. I have tried to keep in mind that anecdotes can easily become interpretations, and that facts expand in minds when they are not opposed by knowledge. On the other hand, to reject all anecdotes is also to reject facts. With ravens, the line between interpretation and fact is commonly a thin one. But as Mark Pavelka, who studied ravens for the United States Fish and Wildlife Service, said, with other animals you can usually throw out 90% of the stories you hear about them as exaggerations. With ravens, it's the opposite. No matter how strange or amazing the story, chances are pretty good that at least some raven somewhere actually did that. That is because ravens are individuals. Ants aren't. It may be impossible to prove in a literal or absolute sense that any one particular animal has or does not have emotions, consciousness, or capacity for insight. These subjective, individual, and hard-to-define qualities of mind are found in separate, independent evolutionary lines, with the highest endpoints reached in some species of primates, cetaceans, and perhaps corvids and parrots. Trying to pin any of the many aspects of mind down to one particular amount in any one particular species, however, is like trying to specify the exact moment in a continuum of time when a child can or could talk. She is not talking when she makes gurgling sounds at the age of a few weeks, but she is doing so later when she says, "Mommy, please read me the story about the hungry caterpillar one more time." Some of the varied vocalizations she makes in between the first sounds and the first sentence seem arbitrary, because they are. So it is with all aspects of mind, only we cannot measure them as precisely as we can sounds. And some, like the smell of a rose or the feel of a spring day, no matter how objectively and concretely they can be proven to affect behavior, will forever remain private. In the last several decades, there has been a blossoming in our awareness of animal minds, despite the large methodological problems of investigating them. Studies have shown many often unprepossessing animals to have amazing sensory and mental, probably unconscious, powers that were unsuspected and that seem almost beyond